Well, so we have the Member of Parliament for Fantiakwa is in the studio, and thanks for joining me in the studio.
Thank you, sir.
But more importantly, we have to look at some of the issues. Which of the issues over the weekend tickled your mind? You thought you were just going through or listening and you thought you needed to also touch on? For example, in Cape Coast, there's a dress code. You were just looking at a Catholic church in Cape Coast says a dress code should be the guidelines by which young ladies should dress in Cape Coast or in the church. There's a tidal wave incident in Keta, Jitanyanwe, which are displaced residents. And just your mind quickly on them, then we'll go to the substantive issues.
That's right. Yes, that of the dress code, I would say a big good morning to your listeners and viewers, especially people from my constituency, that is Fantiakwa North, including that of the South.
Great.
Specifically for voters within these two constituencies, both NDC and MPP. The NDC guys are doing well, and I think seeing what is happening now and the profundity of the economy's misstructure, they are shifting camp, and it's something that is very, very good.
Shifting camp to your side?
Yes, of course, because the hardships are not being
you mean the voters or
voters,
or
yes,
the sympathizers?
Voters. People who have voting capability, people who have that voting right. You see, they are the people that matter most when you are talking in terms of voting in this voting year. So I would say, I'll shout to them that they should continue to defect, and that the government has not been able to help them to meet their demands of the economy, especially when it comes to sending their wards or their children to training colleges and the nursing training. Yes, the withdrawal of the allowances is hitting the villages most, because now you have to pay over 2,400 per semester for a training college ward, and over 3,000 for a ward in the nursing training, which the villages cannot afford. So they are now resolving to the fact that, oh, we did the wrong move. We shouldn't have voted this government to power. We should have listened to Akufo-Addo, yes, when he said...
we'll come to the subject of the economy. So I know those are the politics
here.
When Ebenezer Oklete Telabi...
he's not here, that is why...
Oh, he's lurking around somewhere in the studio, I can see him. Yes. well, we'll take a break quickly. We'll invite him. You also have his preliminary comments, and we'll see how that goes for him.
Thank you.
Okay. So, Ebenezer Oklete Telabi, Member of Parliament for Lower Manya, is here with us. Thanks for joining me. I love your white. You're celebrating anything distinctively this morning?
No, not at all.
You're just in the mood. All right. How's the campaign going?
Very well.
Have you started?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
But my presence is
felt.
Yes. In the
okay. There's this tidal wave that is still worrying communities along the Keta Lagoon.
Yeah.
Or especially the shores of Keta, Jitanyanwe, and it's an annual or perennial problem. We don't seem to be having the defense wall built up to that very extent for the resident to have some relief. Now they've been displaced just over the weekend.
Yeah, thank you very much, and let me say good morning to everybody who's watching us. In fact, the issue about tidal wave and the level of the sea rising, it's you know, it's not peculiar to Ghana. It has to do with, you know, climate change that we have been experiencing, you know, for some time now. And 3 days ago, I was watching was it a documentary or news where about 170-something countries have signed on to, you know,
a climate change pact?
Yeah, pact, you know. And one thing we must realize that if it is happening in Chile, it is happening in Asia and other places, we should not think that it is far from us. No, it is the same continent, and we need to. It tells us that we need to revise the way we handle issues that has to do with, you know, the climate, because it is not waiting for us; it is catching up with us. And now, ice is melting, the levels of the sea is going up, and there's a need for us to revise some of, unfortunately, the giants, in the world are the most, what do you call it, corporates when it comes to emission of gases and whatever. When you go to China, you look at visibility itself is a problem because of the level of emissions, and they themselves have recognized, they've realized that they need to do something about it because it is even affecting them now, introducing all manner of diseases. The last time I heard a school was so, the environment so polluted that the students have started having problems with their skin, and even they said some of them have been diagnosed of leukemia. And it tells us that we must revise, yes, we are developing industrialization, but we must also be careful and take cognizance of whatever we do and its impact on the environment. And these are some of the things. There isn't much we can do. You build all the walls, but then when nature says yes, who are you to say no? So I sympathize so much with our people in Keta. Some efforts have been put into trying to build a sea defense wall, but as I said, it cannot resolve all the problem if we don't look at the issues about climate change very well.
Very interesting. But the first time I was reviewing your newspaper earlier in the morning, and this was reported, I said countries like the UAE, etc., the Emiratis, they even try to reclaim the sea.
Yes.
And build huge towers on them, which they even use for investment purposes. We have the land already reclaimed, and we just need to do some extra reclamation and be okay with it. And we're toying with ourselves.
It is for us to protect the solid land. If we cannot reclaim, we have to protect what we have already. And it can only be done by building seawalls. And what do we see? Have we taken the people that lives along the coast at heart? Are they part of us? Is their concern? Are their concerns ours? What are we doing as a nation to protect them? Do we want them to lose their habitat for something which they cannot control themselves? It's beyond them. They might have done something about it. If you look at the Keta township, you can see that the old township has already engulfed under the sea. There is nothing that they can do to reclaim the old land again. So now that we live in modernity, I think it behoves on the government of the day, no matter what government it is, to make sure that they start something. I think Keta Sea Defense Wall have been started for some time now, but it must be something that we should go on continuously.
We need to prioritize.
My in-law comes from Jita, so I used to use the coast to Jita. And I tell you, on the Sevietula end, if you go that way, you can see that several of the communities yes, have been washed off or overtaken.
You seem to know the area very
well. Yes, and
mentioning Sevietula in those places.
It's all because of global warming. And as he regularly said, it's not the fault of developing countries, but developed countries. What do we have to do to stop global warming? It's by planting trees, of course, right? But we don't have the wherewithal to plant the trees. So it behoves on those governments that are into big industrial outfits to come down to help us. It's a move that I think is long overdue. Africans and the developing world should put them on the table and tell them that it's because of you that we are suffering. A war like this wouldn't be built by Britain or America or China. We will have to take a loan or use our own resources to build it. So we have to call them, sit them down. It's high time that we we learned of how to
as a block
bring them together and tell because of
as
their activities and actions that we are
having the repercussions.
How do we solve this problem?
Okay, now let's focus on the elections, the electoral register, the political parties, and then we focus on the economy. Are too many issues as we have some couple of minutes to look at the discussions. But let's look at the election. What I've been giving you is about how the Electoral Commission is collaborating with the Assembly, with district assemblies and unit committee members to identify deceased persons within the electoral area to enable the Commission expunge names from the voters register. We know this is coming up because we have what we call, is it limited registration exercise?
Yeah.
That is
10 days from 28th of this month.
Okay, so 28th of this month, that'll be from next week, thereabout.
Yeah.
And then 10 days thereof. Now, we know all the things.
This weekend.
This weekend, starting from this week. We know all the things that has happened between the political parties and the other stakeholders and what the Electoral Commission also seems to think. First, I would want to have your initial observation about how we are approaching this very limited registration exercise vis-a-vis the concerns that we stakeholders have, political parties, media, civil society, the Electoral Commission itself, about the names that should be there or should not be there, and the ones that we even expect to be on the register for upcoming. Your initial observations in terms of how we are approaching it, is it right or not?
Well, I don't think there's any significant change insofar as the approach, is concerned, because this is what has always been happening. When it comes to whether it is general registration or limited, everybody is encouraged to take part, one. And then one other thing that is being emphasized that I'm very happy about is the fact that the assemblymen, the unit committee members. Now, if you live in communities where assemblymen are very effective, and then the unit committees, you realize that in fact they are supposedly in charge of a lot of things in the area. Even when somebody is sick, the assemblyman is informed, the unit committee members, and therefore when somebody dies, certainly they will know about it. So when it comes to the issue about having, about 600,000 people, on the register dead, but their names on the register, the best person, to help in expunging the names is, what do you call it, the unit committee members who are close to the people and they know everything that goes on within the community. Again, with the help of the assemblymen. So, with the EC getting these people involved, that is what is supposed to be, including all stakeholders, because as we go into this registration, for instance, if we know how difficult it is to have a driving license, to have a passport, and sometimes even what do you call it,
a normal
birth certificate.
A normal birth certificate.
The normal birth certificate. We don't have it. You understand? There are a lot of people who don't have it, not because they don't want it, but because sometimes where they are born,
they can't have access.
They can't have access. So you cannot have those documents in evidence of your what do you call it, citizenship. You understand? So the best persons are the members in the community who attest to the fact that yes, this is a person who lives in our community, and he or she is 18 years and above. Again, parents, relatives must also, and then we, the political parties who are raising red flags now, we are the very people who go around and encourage people to come and, whip them to come and register. As we go into this, for once, let us all be honest. Let us not encourage minors to register.
Or non-citizens.
Non-citizens to register.
Okay.
But even, when it comes to citizenship, it's a whole tall order. That I think you can only challenge that at the law court.
Well, I have my own mindset because I grew up with Fulanis. Their parents necessarily are not Ghanaians, but they were born here. So sometimes, by our constitution, they are Ghanaians. Yes. But they identified as Fulanis. So sometimes, but that brings us to the question of as we do the initial observations. I think, even though the Electoral Commission has come out and some members have come to make various responses to concerns being raised by stakeholders, there doesn't seem to be a clarity on what the position of the EC is going to this. Is there?
Yeah, it's always difficult if you try to dodge doing the right thing. It's always difficult in that way. When the most simple method is bypassed in order to try to achieve
which is the most simple method?
Validation. Why go to these hamlets and villages and worry unit committee members, assembly members? They are by law not, made to register or make sure that they inform the EC about people who die in their community. That is why we have the birth and death registry. Now, if we want the register to be as best as we can, right? The only thing and the simplest thing that we can do now is to open the register and send the machines to all polling stations and say, hey, Jack, if you want to vote, go back and authenticate your existence and your preparedness to vote.
What if somebody doesn't want to go and vote, but wants the ID card?
Why wouldn't you like to go and validate yourself if you want to vote? Why is it that others are going but you don't want to go? That is where the respect of the law must be displayed. We have to make sure that we all abide by the law. If we don't abide by the law, then it's like we live in quotes, in a jungle. Let the law be out that, yes, we want to streamline the voters register. We want to make sure that people living and the most people qualified now to vote, we are opening the register for authentication, for that matter, validation. If you live and you want to vote, it is not only MPP, it is not only NDC, it is not only PPP. All Ghanaians who want to vote should go to their polling stations, a date given, a period given, like this registration, for us to go and validate. It has been done in other countries, and therefore, why can't it be done in Ghana?
So your suggestion is the only way by which we can.
If you want to have a register that will be acceptable to all, then I think not to debate this for the length it has been debated. Let's do the right thing. Let's put the machine there. Let's go and validate. Everybody who is prepared, a good citizen, right, will go and validate.
Okay.
Because you want to vote your party to power.
What happens to those who are not able to, if that should have been the scenario, go and authenticate, or in other words, validate whether they are the right people or not, for us to know whether they also are the right people in the communities or the electoral areas. So what happens to them?
Our system is...
Let's say that day you went to the market or you've traveled.
Our system is one of the best. We wouldn't give a date of maybe 2 days or 3 days. It will be stretched.
This one is how many days?
10 days.
But you don't think somebody can be oblivious of...
Let's give ourselves 20 days. How about that? Or let's limit it after the expiration of the date to the district EC offices with the presence of all party reps so that it can continue for maybe a month or 2.
You think that's the only way we can authenticate?
I think that is the best way. Better than going around telling assembly members and unit committee members to bring names of people who are not living and things like that. How about if somebody traveled outside his jurisdiction and the assembly member may be thinking that the person is dead and submits his name We know how we can abuse situations in our country, Ghana.
Collaboration of the families. Because you can't just go and see somebody is dead without
and it's
recourse to the
cumbersome.
family. But you see,
It's cumbersome.
Roland,
you see, the issue here is not just about the dead.
sure.
You understand? It's not
It's
just
about
the dead.
minors.
It's about minors. It's about foreigners. My question is that here comes somebody who is 16 years. They say validation. He pops up with his or her card. You know, puts his or her finger on the machine. The name pops up, and you validate him or her as, you know, the true person. The owner of the card. Does that, you know, cure the issue about?
Well, there's a picture too, though. So
That's one. Does that cure the issue about
whether we are minors or not?
Minors or not? No.
If you think that somebody is a minor, just pick a form.
No. You see,
right?
Then
I think he's making a point that
then the exhibition. Then why do you waste our time with that? Because you see, when it comes to even foreigners, the person goes there with the card that you and I assisted, him
to procure.
Goes to the station, and then presents it. The name pops up. It doesn't say that he's a Togolese or a Burkina Faso.
He's a registered voter.
He's a registered voter.
The point is, go and validate.
No,
if you don't validate,
I think the point they are making is, if really the summation of the names we have in the register exists, and then we are saying that they are not bloated or they are supposed to be in, then really those people should go and authenticate. They should go and say, look, I'm really Asimesi, who has the name at a certain polling station or electoral area.
Yeah.
I think that's what the other advocates have been saying.
No, you see, the point is, when you look at the arguments.
But that's not the essence of this very exercise, right? We're only updating the register.
That's for the next 10
for
days.
this one. That's what we're doing.
After which
from 28, that's what we're doing.
After which you're going to have the exhibition. But what I'm saying is that
this is not the exhibition.
The initial objection or the initial concerns about our colleagues, those who wanted a new register. One was the fact that we had minors, and then we had foreigners, to the extent that they went ahead to even give us numbers. And my question is that if it is validation that will cure the issue about minors, the issue about foreigners, when I pop up or appear at the polling station with my card for validation, the machine will not tell the registration officer that this man is 18.
But will you appear at all? Now that you know that eyes are watching you, will you appear?
You see, look, it is the same thing that's supposed to happen during, if it is people identifying minors and foreigners, then during the exhibition, we have, polling agents. I've always been saying that, look, our colleagues...
So which is difficult to do?
Look,
putting the machine there and telling each and everyone to go and validate him or herself or what?
Okay. There are three issues. Three. The dead, minors, foreigners.
Okay.
Would they validate the dead? Would the dead validate?
No, what I'm saying is that, wait a minute, let the minors, because the problem, the major issue, the major concern, in fact, even the issue about even the dead, settled recently.
Okay, you hold on to that. Mr. Siama, let's look at this. In the past, and we have witnessed it severally, I've covered 4 elections in Ghana, and I have voted with people who necessarily don't, or I've covered areas in which there be voters who don't reside in the communities. And I asked them, why don't you stay here? He says, well, I originate from here, but I live in, let's say, Ashaiman or someplace, and my hometown is Adan, or let's say somewhere in the Volta region. Or
but he votes at?
He votes in his hometown or something. As stakeholders, are we against it or not?
No, we aren't against that.
Okay, so we can bus people and take them there because they have to be. Some of them are assisted by either they are community people, residents association, or you, the politicians. Even.
So sometimes it's like if an area wants to become a metropolitan, they will say the population will count, and if there is an election or registration, for instance, election registration, let many who can, that comes from that area, right, drive there or go there to register in order to boost the numbers for them to achieve their social status that they want to achieve. There's nothing wrong with that. But when clearly you can see that people who don't hail from the area, who are not denizens of the area, will bust themselves and say, we are going to register in this area. It happened in my constituency some time ago. When Mr. Honorable Fosampofo was contesting me. And there were people who were bussed from Tema who were not denizens or who never hailed.
People were bussed from Tema,
ever lived. And
they are not citizens from the area?
Yes.
And they are not?
Yes. And when they were caught, they said, oh, some people came to tell them that they should come and register here or transfer.
So those people on the voting day, do they come and vote? Or somebody votes for them?
No, it didn't happen. For this, it did not happen at all.
Okay, this
they
one
were
didn't
told
happen.
in the face that
so
it
does it give you a certain clue or inclination that it does happen?
Yes,
okay.
In other areas.
So those people, what happens on the election day? Do they come and vote?
They bust them, yes.
To
they
come
bust
and
them
vote.
to come and vote.
But they are voters. They would have registered somewhere else anyway.
But why wouldn't you?
No, I understand. We're not questioning the other side, but they are voters. They could have registered anywhere else, and they are entitled to register.
But you know,
is there any law that says that you only have to register in a place where you are?
Yes, where you have lived for some time. That is what the law says.
Not where you hail from.
Yes, you can where you hail from. Yes.
Where you hail from, and where you're resident.
Yes. And if you bus people from elsewhere
who don't hail from, don't reside,
that is the point.
It means that you're flouting the law.
Yeah, you are flouting the law because
Is this pervasive across board? Do you think it's pervasive?
Maybe along our borders, why not?
Okay.
Maybe along our borders, why not?
Estimatedly, how many people are in the register do we think are not supposed to be there? I.e., are foreigners, minors, and illegal people?
Well, I don't have an idea, but what I know is
but you political parties keep arguing. The register is bloated. It's riddled with a lot of difficulties.
Yes, in fact, I remember Afarijan, former EC,
held a press conference.
Yes,
don't refer me to that. We all know that one.
Yes, and therefore that attests to the fact that some people who are not supposed to be on the register who are there. But you see, my question.
But we can have people who have small baby face. But
it is not about just being baby face, but having baby face. Sorry, but the fact is that people consciously, intentionally
put people in the register.
Assist, and I'm sure.
But those people vote.
Wait, yes, I'm sure Fredjan, was not just speaking because he saw faces on the register, but then he's privy to some,
other information.
Other information. You understand? But you see, the question is that it is not a Fredjan who does that. It is the stakeholders, the political parties who are in arms against the EC now are the very people who do the busing, who facilitate, who
why wouldn't you validate?
No, you see, the question
now
is...
Now the political parties say we want to put an end to it, so let's do it fresh.
What I'm saying
you said the fresh should not come on.
What I'm saying, you see, the point is that will the validation cure the issue about minors?
Why not?
How? When you put your finger there.
If the person is a minor, you see the face, you can question.
Look, challenge, feel the challenge.
Facial expressions, very, very
she will face the panda.
You do further inquisitions.
Oh, you see, but what I'm saying,
and the fear of it
there's a window.
Deter those minors from coming to
that avenue is there.
To validate.
If the person is coming to register and you think that this person doesn't hail from the place, he's a minor, he's a foreigner, there are forms that you can fill, and that is why we have agents. And I've always been saying that, look, our electoral system is so unique that from the word go, from the start of, what do you call it, the registration, we have agents. And as I speak, political parties are training their agents.
Well, we have agents, but we still have all these flaws.
Well, but
it shows that the system is very much...
there is no perfect system
people
anywhere.
Can take, a group can take
You see?
An undue advantage if the numbers are bloated.
Do you think this very registration exercise, the political parties will take advantage and do whatever?
Oh, yes. Yes.
In some areas?
All political parties.
Yes, both sides?
Yes.
Of the divide?
Yes.
In opposition and government
Everybody
party?
is prepared for it now. Training has gone on and
but I'm saying that for all the training that's good, do you think there will still be people who are not supposed to minors and things who may find themselves?
I think people will open their eyes now than before. Now that people are talking about minors being on the register.
We are not hearing this for the first time.
Okay, let's spend the next 10 minutes talking about the economy, because on the front page of the Business Day newspaper, it says, economy dying amid high interest rates. Ghana ranks apparently second among high interest rate countries on the continent. And even though there's also a story on the same front page that says our economies are not telling the truth. A story attributed to President John Dramani Mahama as he was making comments on his accounting to the people tour. Minister of State in charge of private sector, Dr. Rashid Popo, was on News File over the weekend. Says apparently Ghana's economy has expanded more than 100% from 2008 to 2016.
Yeah.
And that's based on available figures. Yes. But the argument is that, well, we're still crowding out the private sector. They don't have enough funding. Interest rates are high. The cost of energy provision, and even if they have to pay, is very high. So it's making the cost of production very high. So generally, once the price is not affordable for the average income earner, it doesn't make life very much meaningful for both sides, the manufacturer or whoever is providing the service or good, and the consumer.
Yeah, thank you very much. Sometimes, you know, I...
Shudder too.
No, not exactly, but you see, the issue is about the egg and the chicken, which comes first.
A chicken and egg situation.
Yeah, that's right. Now, we are a developing country. We have gaps.
So variables don't matter. GDP and those things matter.
They do.
Infrastructure matters. If you build a bridge, you build a road, you build hospitals.
Wait a minute. You see, those things are not built in a vacuum. It's not like you go and build a bridge and that is all. You understand? You build a hospital and that is all. No. You build a school and that is all. They have impact on livelihood. You understand? And therefore, if we are talking about changing lives, you understand? These are the pillars. These are the indicators. These are the things that affect directly, you know, our living standards and therefore development. Now, we always crave and ask for government to create enabling environment. Now, as a government, where are the sources of income? What are our sources of income? One, we know the structure of our economy, agrarian. We export raw, you know, I mean, our major income comes from, you know, unrefined, unprocessed raw material that we export, which we don't have, you know, control over in terms of the pricing. Even our oil, we don't have, because you see the initial, you know, capital itself that was invested, was done by somebody, and the person came with his stem, and then because we're so eager to have it, we need to kowtow to some of the
some conditionalities.
Some conditions, yes. You see, and therefore, you see, I've always been saying that, look, it is not only going to the IMF that we cow down to, you know, some conditionality. Sometimes when we are going for loans, because we don't have it, we don't have, you know, what it takes to do it. We need to do it, and then.
So that's why we have to provide infrastructure.
Yeah, we have to. So if you provide the infrastructure, short term, we would have, you know, such challenges, because you are taking money that was supposed to go into some, what do you call it, the social intervention, you know, a program, right? You use that to build the bridges, you use that to build the roads, but then, in the short term, people would, you know, I mean, will complain, but then in the long term, when they start reaping, you know, when you are going to the voter region and you don't have to go and queue at the
you don't have to waste man hours.
Yes, at the pontoon.
And that
for
ultimately reflects in some level of production.
For 3-4 hours before you cross the voter, and now you can just drive over the Adomi Bridge in
Is that the
minutes.
narrative of the NDC going to the electioneering now?
This and many more. Unless otherwise, you know, the economists, you know, will come with new theories that infrastructure does not, you know, bring development, and therefore it does not translate into, you know, real jobs. It doesn't translate into.
But you're saying ultimately in the medium to long term, these things will translate.
Certainly, you see, but you see, I always liken it to, I mean, we as individuals, right? If you decide, my brother, as we sit here, and you decide to embark on a project, a young man you've been working for so many years, you want to start building a house or a home, you know, for yourself, you need to make some sacrifices. Certain areas that you used to visit frequently, you need to reduce the frequency.
Some austerity.
Seriously.
And that's what we're doing.
That's what we are doing for now.
But I want to ask you, for your side of the political divide and the argument that is being made, and I know that before we were coming on air, we were talking about how even people in the villages were suffering because inflation has gone up. So their interaction with those who provide goods and services have become very costly encounters, so to speak. Is it a matter of the government prioritizes the provision of infrastructure and the various structures before perhaps also focusing on the various variables of GDP, etc.? And you think that's a wrong strategy? And so the constant criticism on government.
It is indeed. In an economy like ours, you cannot prioritize one sector of the economy and be thinking that you are doing well, and for that matter, everybody should be in tune with what you are doing. Economic activities are cyclical. If you short circuit it, if you get one wrong, right, all the others may be wrong for that matter. And all the others are more than the one that you have chosen. So if you concentrate on one, you miss many others. You borrow to construct infrastructure. We are saying that it's ruinous. The amount borrowed does not commensurate the projects on the floor.
Are you sure?
That is what we are saying.
The NDC has a green book. Do you have a green book?
Yeah, I have it here.
We are saying that
massive projects.
It's Pyrrhic. Brief. We are saying that it's Pyrrhic. And for that matter, consider other factors. Right? As a government, are your people having good economy for themselves? People's life economically have been emasculated since this government came into power. People are suffering. The interest rate is not right. The value of the cedi is not right. And borrowing has become too expensive. And people are suffering. Look at the many taxes that has been heaved on petroleum products. Transportation is difficult.
So you're saying it's just a wrong economic model they are adopting?
Very, very.
They just have gotten it wrong from the start.
From the start. That is why I said.
So what should have been the ideal?
The ideal should have been that make sure that companies here, industries, are competitive. Let them have access to not cheap, but standard interest rate borrowing rate.
Let them have tax breaks?
That is the point. Not tax breaks per se.
Yeah, they can also be having tax breaks.
Yeah, they can.
To some extent.
To some extent. Some companies can be given that. Then look at the rate at which the cedi deteriorates to all other
because that affects currencies. Borrowing.
Yes.
And also...
It affects everything. So if you are not able to make sure that you stabilize the economy, whatever you do, you think you'll be doing well.
But the two of you do agree that these things will dominate the discussions during the electioneering.
Yes, that is what we are going with.
The NDC seems to claim that, well, for
they
those...
have built infrastructure.
Yes, and so for those beneficiary communities...
Neglecting the suffering of the people. Look at inflation. How can you go with this inflation and have the idea that companies can export, right, and balance your payment? It can never happen. People will continue to import because electricity you can't have, you can't bear.
But we're not importing as we used to. Because that in itself was what brought us into many of the difficulties on one hand, including the over expenditure that
it's doing so that nailed us.
Yes.
That nailed the economy. And now
we were over importing, and then two, we over expended. Yes, we ran a budget deficit.
Yes, because of the allocation of our resources.
And then we also had an acute energy situation. Is that not?
Yes, it is indeed. You have analyzed it. As
you wanted to add.
I have said, per se. It is not the best.
Well, I've had in the studio Kwabna Amankwe-Siama, Member of Parliament for Fantiakwa North. Yes. Our time is up. You wanted to add more?
Yes, I wanted to say
we'll have to invite you next week so you come and continue this very discussion. Okay. And also, Ebenezer Oklete Telabi, he's a Member of Parliament for Lower Manya. Yes. Lower Manya, does it include Shire and some of those?
No.
Okay. No. We're taking a break. When we come back, we'll have entertainment. Do stay on.